Okay, so step number 4, we're gonna configure the internal router. Okay, we're gonna poke a hole out of it. Okay, again, we're gonna configure the internal IP. Internal router. As you can see the red arrow here. So we're going to poke through the firewall of the internal router, which is the Linksys router here. As we're working on the 192.168.1.259.50 port that we are defined here. So I'm going to set up the routers to open that port, poke a hole through that, which is 5950, the custom port that we just created earlier. Okay, so we're gonna get into Mac OS X to get that set up. So right here, okay, we have we're gonna set up we're gonna set again. We're gonna get into the router. Okay, now, the first step we're gonna get into the internal router. So we're gonna go to Safari here. If you're not familiar with setting up the router, so I suggest you learn how to set up the router here. If you're not going through that step here, assume that you know how to set up the router. So in this case, I have the Linksys router here. So before we do that, let's do a lookup a second. So we want to know how secure this router is and what port is open. Okay, so I'm going to go to Shield App. This is the best site that again that we're going to go through. So I'm going to check here my internal, why we show up the external IP address. Again, when we do the check from the outside, the outer world, we're looking from the outside for public IP. That's why it's showing uh, my public IP here. Again, the XX, what about your IP addresses is going to be different here. This is mine, and it's kind of like not showing about the exact IP. So I'm going to click on common port here. Why we do that? Uh, the purpose is to demonstrate, see that the common ports are most like the application or most service ports that are using. You want to check this router if there are any open for the quite common port or service port like web, FTP, World Wide Web, all of those stuff. As you can see, scroll down here. So the port is 1 up to 5,000 here. So these are the ports that's supposed to be shielded. By default, it's not supposed to be opening. So that's what makes your internal network secure here. So we're not opening any of these because these are the ports that we're not using. Again, the port is up to 5,000 that we're scanning through here. And so what we are interested in is actually we're gonna check. Okay, we're gonna check that port 5950 that we define here. So what we do, we're gonna go back to the front page. So I'm gonna click on specify a custom port or specific port actually. So click on custom port here. So we're gonna plug in the 5950 if it is actually open. Of course, I know that it's not open, but we want to make sure that if the tool shows exactly what we already knew. Okay, so we're gonna type in the 5950. Again, we are looking at from. We want to check to make sure if the port is actually open. So 5950 this. So we're gonna probe that one. Okay, 5950. 5950 is the VNC server port that we are defining. As you can see, it's stuff. That means that it's not open. Okay, so our job is to open it, right? So we can run. Port 5950 is not open. It's closed. Okay, so we can go back. I'm gonna do another check. Again, remember the Java 5850. So we're gonna check that as well. So we never open that anyway because we're not gonna be using it. So we're gonna probe that again. See, let's see if probes up. Your IP address is gonna show here. I'm just shielding mine anyway. So stuff. So it's closed as well. So that verifies everything is shut. Okay, it's not open. So this router by default is closed completely. So you don't have any service that. That's part of the security you want to check too. Let's say if your router get hacked by someone or something like that and gets open, so you can always use this tool to show it. So now we're gonna go. Let's see. We're gonna go to the router right now. We're gonna get into a router. So my router again is 192.168.1.1. I'm going to use enter my credentials here. Again, your router might be different, and the IP address that I'm set up from, if you follow along on the diagram, okay, the IP address 192.168.1.1. So I'm going to enter my router here. You can see the pictures. We just scanned the port. If you look at the router here, let's make it show up a little bit. It's probably a little bit hard to see here. So what we check in here is actually it's sometimes called port forwarding or application. It's called application. Okay. The under applications right here, you see all the ports are closed. The top one are predefined, the common ports. So you click on pop here, it say HTTP. All those are not open. They're all closed here. This is by default. So what we are interested is the custom port here that I'm gonna name it VNC. So we're gonna try to poke a hole right now. We're gonna try to open it. So VNC SVR or VNC server, whatever we want to name. So again, the port we're gonna be open is actually 5950 here. So we have external and internal. That's what we try to poke a hole. Right now, we are talking about internal router that we try to open it. And so we have UDP and TCP. So we're gonna enter both. Anyway, so this is the IP address of the internal computer, okay, within the router. So we want to run poke a hole and to reach to the MAC that we are running VNC server. If you look at diagram, that's what it is. We try to open to reach that server max VNC server, and which is 200. And you check that, and then apply change. Okay, so verify that that is the one that we want to open. So that MAC to expose, to poke a hole with the port that we're going to tunnel through. Okay, and then now verify that we have that, and we apply the change. Okay, so let's see if it takes that changes. Okay, so it says successful. So I'm gonna I'm gonna go over again. Just want to make sure it's already checked here. Just want to double check to make sure it's applied here. So I'm gonna exit out. Okay. So what I'll do, let's see. I'm gonna try to we're gonna go to we're gonna go to shield up again. So let's see if it's open. Okay. I'm gonna go there again. I'm gonna do a probe again, proceed here. And a lot of information in this site that you want to read to get the knowledge out of it, but the best site ever, so many years. You're gonna click on specify port here. Let's see here. Yeah, click on specify port or specific port here. Specific port. Let's see, check that. We want to try to look up only one port, which is 5950. That's why we have here again. So we enter again 5950. We're gonna probe that. Okay. I'm gonna try to enter it again. Click on that. Jump to. Yeah, we got 5950 here. So we're gonna try to click on probe here. See what happens here. Let's see. Whoop. Why? So it's no. We try to open it. We try to open now. Why it's not? You know why? The reason, again, because we open it, that's what happened. That's what the problem with most people when they try to use the dynamic IP address. Again, you remember we have two firewalls here. The internal we open, but the external we are not open yet. We still closed. So we want to check from the external. We still have one firewall, the external, on the gateway side for the K modem or the DSL side. That's why it's still shielded. Technically, it's already open, but from external, you can always check because you want to check from external. That's why it shows why you want to check from external. It makes sense, right, from the outer wall, so it's still closed, right? That's why you need to configure another one. You need to configure the second firewall, which is on the K modem or ISP, or what we call is a gateway, in order for the port to open. This is what the most common problem that most people can't get it to work. Why? Because you don't understand that You got two firewalls that need to open. Versus the static IP, you don't need that. On the ISP is already open for you. But for the personal connection with dynamic IP address, it's automatic. It's the firewall is on the gateway side as well. So the next step we're going to do, we're going to open the firewall on uh, on the gateway side, and there should be information how to do that. Okay, that's what we're going to do next. Okay, so step 5, we're gonna configure the internet gateway or cable modem gateway, whatever you want to call it, or DSL gateway. So we can poke a hole out of this, the external uh, firewall here. And you can see here with the red arrow, that's what we've tried to do. We're going to work on the 10.1.10.11. So what is it? That is the IP address that the router, the internal router, Linksys router, got from uh, the cable modem or DSL. So again, we're working on the 5900 port. We're going to poke another hole out of it so we can get out of there. So next thing we're going to do, we're going to go to the MAC again. So we're going to configure the router, the gateway here. So we're done with the router already. So we're going to go to, again, we're going to go to Safari again, and we're going to try to open uh, the gateway. And in your case, you should be able to have access because whatever information, there should be information in that router. What you can look up from the internal router that you're connecting to either DSL or the cable modem. In this case, I have the business cable modem, so it doesn't matter what you have. It's pretty much almost the same. So what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to go to my Linksys router again. Why I go there? So that's how I look up information here. So from the Linksys, remember we connect internet port to the gateway. So if you look at the status here, see here is the IP address of the Linksys. I have it 10.1.10.11 here. So the Linksys external IP of the Linksys. That's why we are not opening the 1773. Don't get confused. External IP address, there's nothing to open. So you're going to open the one on the router side. If you look at the router here, it has DHCP set up here. So you get the IP address from the cable modem, right? And if you have PPOE, you might uh, DSL probably use PPOE, but some of the DSL have automatic as well, DHCP as well. So the setup for a cable modem or most of the devices or most of the gateways these days are DHCP. So that's how you look up for the IP address of uh, uh, the internal router. Okay. So what we're doing, we open that. So first we open the IP address, open the port from the MAC side on the internal route. Right now, we look it up here so we can get information IP address of this internal router here that we can poke the hole through, which is the port 5950 here. Okay, so we can quote that information. So from the outside, it doesn't know what we have here. You know, almost everyone has some kind of internal IP address, almost the same, but it's not known to the outside. That's why you need to poke a hole out with it, so that you kind of like a poke a hole from the MAC side, the 192.168.1.200. Now the 10.1.10.11 on the Linksys router. Okay, so that's what we're going to be working on. So I'm going to try to let me kind of close it. Oh, wait a second. Let me try to open a new tab here. I'm going to open a new tab here, so I'm going to it's going to see side by side here. So I'm going to get into the gateway here, the IP address here. That's most common for the Comcast here. So I'm going to enter a username and password here. So the IP address, whatever IP address of your gateway is, that's what you're going to be doing. In this case, mine is a 10.1.10.1. So almost everyone with the Comcast gateway have that IP address because they are considered internal to Comcast as well. So So it's not external. You're not talking about external IP here. You're talking about the gateway here. So once you log in, okay, so I'm gonna once you log in into here, so put in your credential, whatever that is, mine have changed. So I'm gonna click on the firewall here. So I'm gonna again be working on a firewall. So so this is the second firewall that I'm gonna be working on the gateway side. So I'm gonna click on, let's see, the firewall here. Let's see here. Okay, click on firewall. It's a little small here. Hope you can see that. Click on it. So again, it depends on your device, but they are common here. We can port configuration. This is what it is for Comcast here. You can click here. So click on firewall. And again, your device might look a little bit different, but it's common sense and apply the same concept. You can apply the same concept here. Then I'm gonna configure the firewall to open it. In here, so what we want to do is we're gonna create a custom port here. Again, we're gonna do a VNC again, and this time you can name VNC server, same thing, VNC as we are VNC. You can name whatever you want here, but to be consistent, and you can put the port here where we want to put it. We have public and private, so we kind of put it. Okay, the form in 25950 here, so it's kind of 5950 in both in all columns. Okay, 5950. So this is the port that we're going to be poking through and opening so we can get a connection. So the IP address, remember the IP address is not the external IP. We're still entering the IP address of the internal router, which is on the WAN side, which is 10.1.10.11 that we just got it. Okay, if you look through the diagram, that's what it is. Okay, so try to link through and open the whole out of it. So the IP address, again, don't get confused with the external IP address. This is still the gateway and the IP address that the router gets from the gateway here. Okay, I'm gonna click on apply here. Let's see. I click on it. It's a little bit sticky here. Okay. Let's see. That's fine. I've done it 2 times, so it's already checked. You want to make sure it's already, so you can see it checked already. So I'm going to click on apply again. Sometimes you need to do it twice, but in this case already, I just want to double check by applying again and make sure it's safe. That's what we wanted. Okay, this time it doesn't have any error. So now, let's see here. Again, move a little bit. Let's look at the gateway. Hold on a second. Let's take a look on the Linksys router side. Again, remember the external IP address of the router, internal router, is 10.1.10.1. That's what we're setting up here. So this is the second firewall on the gateway side that we try to open. Okay. So let's see. We can go to new tab here. So I'm gonna let's test again. I'm gonna go to shield up again. See if we can open that. See this time it's open. I was hoping so. So click on shield up again. Okay, and again proceed. A little bit refresh here. Okay, we're gonna click on specific port here. Look up here, and we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna plug in the 5950 here, and then click on jump. After that, okay. Then here 5950. We're gonna try open here again. We're looking from the outside. Voila! See here it's open. So we successfully poke the hole out of 2 firewalls. So next thing we're going to do, we're going to test the remote computer from anywhere. Not the same, not internal. To see if we can connect to the Mac VNC server here. Okay, so we're on step number 6. So we're going to run a test. We're going to test the connection from a remote computer, not internal, somewhere from the internet or from the outside. As you see the diagram here, we have a remote computer with the red arrow here. We're going to connect to the 173.113.x.x, whatever the IP address you have here. And mine, in that case, that's my IP address. The X represent the actual number, whatever number that I'm not showing up. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna open the, we're gonna use Windows 7. So you can, as mentioned, I'm gonna be testing on Windows 7. Your case, you can test from Linux with VNC View, whatever that is, or Mac version. Again, I've already downloaded, so I'm gonna go to the download folders where it gets get downloaded. I'm gonna double click on the downloads folder here. Let's see here. Double click on that, and here VNC Viewer. There's no installation.exe. So technically, you just double click on it to run. You can copy to a desktop wherever, or create a shortcut to a desktop, or whatever location it is. Zero configuration. I'm gonna double click on it, and that is a warning about the application. That's standard for Windows 7. You can uncheck it. You don't want that to show up again. You click on Run. Okay, so the IP address, again, we are not connecting through the internal. We connect from external. So the port, when you run as a custom port, you need to put colon specified by the port 5950. But if you were to use the 5900, you can either put it or colon 5900 or not using it. It's, the application is known. But if you specify, change the port to 5900, whatever the port is, and you have to put colon in front of it. That's how you do the connection. So you click on it, and then next thing you're going to do, we're going to click on connect. So whatever your IP address is on the external, again, we connect from the external. Okay, so by this time, you click on connect. Here's a good sign. When you see the signature like that, that is a good sign that you already have a connection established. You click on that, you enter the password. So again, the password that we are using, we use the Mac OS X. In this case, EL Captain Credential, which is the username administrator. And the password we're going to enter is actually, so we use the credential of the Mac OS X credential, so to connect into the internal. Once you connect it, here it is successful. This is where we left off before. We can see that the port was open. Okay, this is the same screen that we left off the last time when we checked the port when it did the final configuration on the gateway. So we successfully connect to the Mac OS X EL Captain running VNC server. Okay, so um, let's see here. So what we need to do next? Actually, you can see that the port still open. Okay, we leave it open, and again, we successfully configure and set up from connect from the external remote computer anywhere. So, so that is, you have the connection that's most secure, and so here is one thing that I failed to mention about it. So when you set up the unattended or a VNC server that's running all the time, you don't want to leave the power saver shut off by itself. So unless you have like a wake on LAN or something like that for Macs, so the best way to do is actually so that you always have the connection is to set up the power saver to save it, or power management to not go to sleep. So I'm going to click on the system preference here. I'm going to go to configure it. So I'm going to set that up. I'm going to change it to never shut down or never go to sleep. So I'm going to click on saver here. Okay, that's what I'm going to do. You can click on saver, power saver here. So I'm going to slide it to never. Okay, never go to sleep. You can set up and then click OK here. You can display, you can have it go to sleep, it doesn't matter. But the hard drive is just that you want to uncheck it. And again, if you have Ethernet wake on, that's fine. You can leave as is, yeah. But make sure it's not put on drive in sleep. Put drive on sleep, that means you can't connect it. So from external, you won't have the connection. So that's what you need to do. Oh, actually, There is one last thing that I failed to mention. With VNC's install, you can use that to connect internally. That's what you can use it internally to connect to your Mac as well. So what I'm going to show you is actually how you connect it. Again, let's say that you are internal, where you have Mac or Windows. You can connect it to the VNC server as well. So I'm going to go to the download again to run this application again. I'm going to create shortcut here. Okay. Again, so when we connect internally, we're connecting to the internal IP address, not the external. Okay, so this is also we can serve it as the remote desktop here. Here is the internal IP address of the Mac that's running VNC server 192.168.1.200. We specify the port as .5900. It still has to specify port here. Okay, and enter that and 5900, and then what you do after that, you're going to click on connect. Okay, I'm going to do after you enter, make sure to enter the internal IP address again, and then click on connect. Okay, so when we click on connect here, again we're it's going to do its thing a little bit. I'm shielding up my screen a little bit, but this is we're trying to do to make the connection here. So after you, once you click connect, you're gonna be given the options. You enter the username, which is still administrator here on the Mac OS X. Uh, yellow captain here. Here it is. You connect internally here. Okay, we can use as remote desktop when you're sitting internal, and so so we can verify here the IP address again. This is the Mac. Okay, this is the IP address we're connecting to. That is not the Windows. That is the Mac that we're connecting to. We can connect to the internal IP, um, and the internal IP address that we just specified earlier. So that's how you make connection. And again, once you have connected successfully, you install successfully. This is very secure, whether you're using for uh, your home use or especially for business. You have this secure connection to your internal computer. You can use that once you're internal. You connect to the other computer as well, because that's the purpose of using VNC. They take a little bit of the setting, but actually it's going to be once you get it successfully connected, and it becomes very secure, and that should be it.